Rock and roll, everybody. We are live. We are live. It's alive. I feel like, what is that? Who was the doctor in Frankenstein? Frankenstein was the monster, right? But who was the doctor?
I can't remember.
I can't remember either, but he would go, it's alive, right? Or whatever. Yes. Okay, we're live. All right. I like to start with something weird on every show. So we started, I don't know where I went, Frankenstein. Squirrel. All right, I'm Amy Palvido. This is the Real Estate Morning News Show, and I have my friends in the house, and we're going to be talking. What are we going to talk about, y'all? Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about the digital transformation of property management. Yay! All right, we got to get on board. Everybody's got to get on board. We all need to be using AI to do our property management, but we can't do AI without a lot of different things. But before we get there, I'll let my esteemed panel, my rock star expert panel, because that's all I have, y'all, our rock star expert guests, introduce themselves. So I will start ladies first. Chris.
Oh, who you calling a lady?
That's a good
Chris Kimbrough. Clearly I have issues. I am president, surprise Amy, of SKBM Technology, and we're a one-stop shop for prop tech and multifamily. So come on.
Wait. Time out. Did you get promoted?
That's why I said surprise.
Holy crap!
No kidding, yeah.
Go, Chris, and making news on the show. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So awesome.
Thank you.
Good for you. That was a long time coming. They needed to get over themselves. Big fan, Scott, Bill, big fans. But yeah, congrats. That is so awesome.
Thank you.
That is great.
I appreciate it.
It's well-deserved. Well-deserved.
Yeah, no kidding.
It is well-deserved. Yes, for sure. And the other two jokers who are on the panel, no, I'm kidding. Branson.
Yeah, speaking of jokers, I'm Branson Edwards. Got a couple of independent projects going on. I'm a longtime commercial real estate guy at scale, outsourcing the real estate functions, strategy, transactions, construction, lease administration. We'll talk about asset management and facilities maintenance for primarily retailers. And I'm associated with some of the folks on the screen here today in some multifamily projects, some healthcare retail type pursuits that we're going after from a tech perspective. And I have Lean, and we're doing that under Lean Corporate Partners, which is an outsourcing consultancy that we put together with some other folks. And we are also a part owner of Lean Corporate Partners is Exponential AI, which I co-founded with some other folks, which is a lease administration focused AI that we can talk about. And I'm excited to be sitting here on the screen.
Thank you for coming. And Guillermo.
Thanks, Amy, for having us. Branson, Chris, good to see you guys again. It's been a while. Guillermo Salto, I'm the CEO and president at the Iris CX. We are a AI telemaintenance solution for maintenance. Basically, help you take a look at the problem, know before you go, before you end up rolling a truck. Helps you save trips, helps resolve a lot of things remotely, and it is part of the digitalization of property management conversation and how you can sort of standardize all of your intake, use AI to build your work orders so that you can start getting predictable with your maintenance and predictable with your resident experience.
Yes,
I feel like one of these things is not like the other, and it's me because I'm not a serial entrepreneur. We
still like you, Chris. We still like you. It's okay.
Yeah. It's okay. Me. I appreciate it.
But you know what, Chris? You've got your own psychological disorders that you can come up
That is so true. That is so true.
So
I have references that will attest to that.
I find similarity in it all.
Oh my God, this show is so much fun. So awesome. And I haven't even had that much coffee yet. Okay. All right. So let's kick it off. So before any sort of, and we got to pay homage to what's going to basically enable any sort of digitalization of property management. And that is Wi-Fi, which is Chris's specialty. Digital infrastructure is key. And on another podcast that I host, the Data Center News Show, I had Hunter Newby, and I'll probably get him to come on here too. He invests in carrier hotels. He invests in carrier agnostic internet exchanges in places where there's no internet exchange. And amazingly, in cities that you would not think that they didn't really have very good infrastructure, digital infrastructure, but like Wichita, Kansas did not have very good infrastructure. And they just built one with Wichita State University, and that's enabling a lot of the digital transformation that can now occur because you've got Wi-Fi or broadband or fiber or whatever it is you want to bring. So we got to talk about it first. So what are you seeing, Chris, on the, you're mostly focused on multifamily now. So what are you seeing as far as the adoption of managed Wi-Fi, bulk Wi-Fi, or just, whatever?
Well, not as quick as we'd like to see it, of course. But I mean, so first of all, I'd like to thank you for using the words digital infrastructure, because that's one of my hobby horses. Yeah, it's not Wi-Fi. It is Wi-Fi, but it's digital infrastructure.
You've trained me very well, Chris. You've trained me.
Everyone's coachable.
I'm coachable.
But no, I mean, I think we're seeing an uptick I was just at the Broadband Community Summit in Houston. I don't know, last month, I think it was last month or month before. A lot like that. There was a lot of energy at that conference, and that's all, the people at that conference are, managed services providers, investors in managed service providers and digital infrastructure, subject matter experts. It's really the place to be if you're talking about digital infrastructure in multifamily, in my opinion. So I just felt that there was, I talked myself to investors while I was there. There seems to be, when you start seeing the VCs show up at these shows, I think that is an indicator that there is increased interest in the space. I think that smart tech, we're seeing an uptick this year in general in multifamily. But we couldn't really go much lower than last year, right? When nobody did anything really. But we're seeing that uptick, and I think along with that uptick in, the interest in devices and access controls and things like that, you have an increased interest in digital infrastructure. And actually, I just met with a company last week, an owner that owns about 80,000 units, and they are going to go hard behind. They are already trying to install digital infrastructure in all their properties, and they're looking at that as enabling, among other things, smart home or smart building. So I think, when you get these bigger players really making the push towards bulk and managed Wi-Fi, that's when you see the smaller players start to follow along. And with this increased interest in smart building, I think, everybody's looking for operational efficiencies, cost savings, all that kind of stuff. You can enable that through tech. But if you want that tech to work properly, you need the digital infrastructure in place first.
Well, I think it's also rental revenue, right? Like your Renters Express, the number one.
Yeah, for sure. It's an interesting time because, Guillermo stuff.
Oops, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, was I delayed?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was delayed. Go ahead. I'm having issues.
Renters are choosing because of stable digital infrastructure.
Yeah, it's number one, right? If you don't have good Wi-Fi, nobody's going to rent from you, right? If you don't have good Wi-Fi, it's just not going to happen. And I think renters are becoming increasingly more sophisticated about what their options are for enabling Wi-Fi in their unit. So I think I think one of the things that has to happen though, is there has to be more marketing around it to really get the tenants interested in managed Wi-Fi, because you don't see it advertised on a lot of property sites. But yeah, no, I tell the story all the time. When I bought this house 4 years ago, 3 years ago, the first thing I did when I got my close date was call fiber and set up the time for them to come in and turn on my internet. And it wasn't until 3 days before closing when my agent called me and said, "Did you switch over the electricity?" And I had not, because I was so concerned about getting the Wi-Fi. It didn't occur to me that I needed electricity. So there you go, Guillermo. There's one of my what did you call them? Mental problems.
No. It's an opportunity.
It's totally opportunity. Yeah. So Guillermo, your system works, or what you're building out. So somebody uses IRCX on a property, right?
Yeah.
They're using their
Yeah.
phones mostly, right? But
Yeah,
are
the
you
idea is
integrated
to-
with theirs?
Exactly. And the idea is to distribute. I mean, everyone's got a phone, right? Or I mean, it's not too arrogant to assume that many people have. More people have more. Put it this way: there are more phones in the plant than toothbrushes. So I'll just leave it there, rather than
Oh my
assuming
God,
that
is that true? Is it really
Yeah.
true?
Yes. So it's more phones than toothbrushes. So rather than assuming, I'll just lay that stat out there. That if we, can leverage the existing technologies inside a unit with the right infrastructure in place, we can enable a whole lot of things, right? I mean, telemedicine proved that out. Teleinsurance proved that out, that when you have an urgent need to seek expertise regarding an issue and you have the right infrastructure in place, you can do remarkable things from a cost savings perspective, right? And so our solution helps you with inspections, helps you with remote resolutions, helps you with preparing for one trip. All those cost savings come at a benefit of having the existing infrastructure in place. Often we hear we've got dead zones in our building. So, well, you just have to go drive to those sites. They kind of that's the gap inside the technical infrastructure. And so it's a sheer reality is if you do not have, it's more important than utility right now. Like you said, Chris, like if you look at the order of people when they're delinquent on payments, what will they pay first? They pay their cell bill first, then they pay their Wi-Fi, then they pay their electricity, then they pay their gas, then they pay their water. That's how people have decided to rank their priorities. And so
I'm not alone. That's good.
you're not alone. The connectivity is the most important thing.
Well,
And so-
I think, having it be managed in a multifamily property is really important, because what that enables specifically is having that additional network for all of your, device, your IoT, your access controls, your unit lock, like you name it. Excuse me, it can run off the Wi-Fi. And if you're dealing with a retail situation, where you're letting your tenants choose their Wi-Fi, you're going to have to either pay for a separate network for your IoT devices, or you don't have one. And you cannot rely on the residents to hook up smart technology to their personal Wi-Fi. So there's this, I think that, like I said, we're not at the point where smart technology is table stakes, but we're headed in that direction. And so I think that's going to drive increased interest in managed Wi-Fi.
Yeah, for sure. Branson, let's get you in here in the mix.
Well, I
So
have a
what's
couple of
happening
things.
in your world? Go for it.
Before we jump into this is in my world, I'd like to say something a little bit about this, the digital infrastructure that Chris and Guillermo have been talking about. If you back, and I'm not a tech guy, I pretend to be one on TV like now, but if you back up, 40,000 feet and maybe even into the stratosphere and look at this situation, cutting the cable. I think I went out there for a second. Cutting the cable we've been hearing about it for a long time, but I think the disintermediation of these cable companies and the bets that they made 30 years ago through trillions of dollars worth of fiber in the street, cable in the street, and then, going to content, we can replace this is going to date myself, but we can replace video rental. Well, let's go buy the studios and all that kind of stuff. And all of that infrastructure is still there and being relied on. And these huge companies are in trouble because you're watching them try to buy each other and potentially go bankrupt as those business models are under siege. I've been associated with, to my great benefit over the years, with first VoiceStream, PowerTel became T-Mobile, and I had Comcast here in Houston, and first it was 150, and then I cut the TV channels out, and then now I've got T-Mobile 5G I'm talking to you on now, and it's $30-$40 extra to my cell phone bill. So the impact of that kind of thing on the underlying infrastructure, I mean, everything that Chris and Guillermo talked about just then, if I am correct, was kind of in the complex, in the apartment building, in the, whatever real estate profile we're walking around consuming this technology in. But the underlying, the infrastructure is turning into a commodity, a utility. Is Starlink going to replace it all at some point in the future? There's increasing dysfunction at a large scale, and in the smaller scale inside these complexes, inside these properties, really solid advances are being made, which is what Chris and Guillermo were just talking about, I think. So it's so dynamic, and it's even more dynamic than it's ever been. And that makes for good opportunity for disruptors and entrepreneurs. So it's a very interesting scenario to be sitting even on the near rim of where I am, but it's fascinating.
Yeah, Chris left us, but I don't know where she went. But so there she is. She's getting a drink. Look at her. I'm jealous. So let's talk about 6G for a minute before we get into other applications in property management, because that's going to change the world. But I don't know what it's changing the world to. So somebody smarter than me on this call who understands 6G, please raise your hands. Chris, Kimbrough, Branson, Edward. What does 6G mean? And is it really better than 5G? Is it like the 8-minute abs to 7-minute abs? Is it one of those? or is it really better?
Honestly, I don't know. And I have no problem saying I don't know. I mean, my thoughts on 6G are we haven't even fully deployed 5G. We're not even close. We're not even close. And all the carriers, I know because I come from telecoms. So I got a lot of friends in the industry. A lot of them lost their jobs last year as the carriers put 5G build outs on hold. Those are now coming back. But it's a tremendous, until we get that fully deployed, I understand that we have to be looking to the future, but until we realize the full value of 5G, I honestly haven't been paying attention to 6G. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
It is interesting to hear how Branson, how you voiced it, though, is that you're on a 5G an account right now. And so that's an interesting distribution channel, right? So everyone's got a cell phone, like I said earlier, generally do. And so those cellular carriers have access to an individual consumer to buy. There isn't any infrastructure in place except for maybe a 5G modem, which is plug in the wall. There isn't a cable or anything like that connects to anything. So I find it interesting, when we talk about, is it going to be a retail play, which the cell carriers already have that channel established with the Branson, or is it going to be a carrier play like at a Cox Communities inside of a managed Wi-Fi scenario or SKBM, right? So those are two different channels for that digital accessibility to happen. And so on one hand, for Branson to buy 5G, it's an extra $30 in your account, right? On your cell account. Now you get 5G access. And that has its own merits. On the other hand, you've got maybe a fee manager who wants to have some amenity revenue, who's looking to put it through a managed revenue program. And so it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out, because they have it solves the same problem for the resident who has a choice, but there's kind of secondary stakeholders in both situations that are seeking to benefit. Like in the 5G case, in Branson's case, you've got a carrier that's built out 5G, like Chris is saying, but they're not getting the revenue from it that they expected. Like 5G has been economically a bit of a disaster. And so they're seeking to find greater revenue streams through 5G implementations with, seeking out to get revenue from their existing customers like Branson. So it's like these two things are all happening at the same time. And it's a bit of a cold war because no one's really calling it out.
Well, let me say something about that. You're dead on. And I think the technology advance is going to accrue to the mega companies like T-Mobile before it accrues to the independent entrepreneurs, of which there are thousands of these companies involved in this ecosystem. At Lean Corporate Partners, we're attempting to deploy 5G radios in garden-style apartment complexes. So, to Chris's point of 5G not even being there yet, the radio, we need a couple of dozen radios on a decent-sized garden-style apartment complex to retrofit. And those radios, those 5G radios, are the ones that we want to deploy are just coming out, are just available. And the price ranges from $3,000 a radio to $16,000 a radio for comparable radios. I mean, it is so, then the technology is so far apart, and the understanding of what you need from the software that cores to make that happen, and the pricing is so all over the map. I mean, it's shocking how broad how difficult pulling all these pieces together are into a product, the product being a usable fixed wireless access solution. It's impossible to say that, it's not proper to say that we're even there yet in the market, and 6G is coming along. It's kind of like satellites up in the air as far as I'm concerned, but I'm on the side of this thing.
Well, and it's interesting, Branson, that what you're doing there is garden style, right? You're using 5G to essentially is backhaul. So instead of having fiber back, instead of running cables into each apartment, you're going to use those 5G radios to feed the signal into the apartments in garden style. And Guillermo, I think, just going back to what you said earlier about this interplay between the limitations to deploying that 5G service, if you're looking at mid-rise, high-rise, especially, when you start thinking about the strength of the signal in buildings, like that's been a problem for decades, right? Since the advent of smartphones or of cell phones, getting signal into the buildings. So I think that it's such a complicated situation. I mean, it's totally interesting to see, I think, because like I see the commercials for T-Mobile 5G with Donald Faison and Zach Braff. Like I see those commercials. They're compelling. Verizon calls me on a regular basis trying to get me to buy their 5G, their Wi-Fi over 5G service. It'd be interesting as like those become more prevalent in the marketplace, and you're going to have these owner operators who are not technology people going, well, why don't we do that? Why don't we just cut a deal with T-Mobile and, we'll have 5G internet? But then you've got to take a step back and be like, well, you're in a high rise. You probably don't have, your cell signal may be questionable to begin with, and you want to add Wi-Fi on it. Like I think there's going to be a lot of new re-education around digital infrastructure as that kind of contest plays out.
Yeah, that's super interesting. All right, so so we've got that kind of, so let's switch gears over to the AI that's coming out, that's not slowing down. Guillermo is an AI founder. I'm an AI founder. Branson is too. And Chris, you kind of recommend to all of these folks, oh, you need this tool, that tool, or
Well,
that kind
a
of
very
tool.
smart woman
So what are we seeing?
a very smart woman once told me, it's AI or die. I believe that was
Yes.
you, Amy.
That was me.
Sounds like
Yes, it's AI or die, pretty much. Yeah, it sounds like something I would totally say. So I'll own that. Yeah, totally. So, all right, Guillermo, let's talk about your implementations, what you're trying to, the use cases you're solving for. So it's just the general dissatisfaction of tenants because nothing works. It's the solving the, just the management and the maintenance of certain things, right? That's
Well,
tell us
the AI
what
that we
Iris
do,
CX does.
yeah, the AI that we do. So we recognize that, like, okay, there's the intake and maintenance is a problem. The residents are they're not the experts at describing the problem. And the absence of clarity, it's garbage in, garbage out. Very simply put, right? Residents put in garbage in any maintenance system, and then garbage out means I'm dispatching trips and I'm rolling texts and I'm sending the wrong person, wrong time, wrong place, wrong hour, all that stuff. And so what we look to do is say, okay, why does this problem exist? Well, because typically the first thing maintenance tech says I gotta get some eyes on the problem. And so we help you see the problem before you roll. Now the AI piece is interesting in that that's helping us standardize and automate. And so really about some of the problems that people feel in terms of execution for maintenance is knowing what is the problem that I have to solve. What is the parts that I need to bring? What is the training I need to have? Right. Well, in the absence of understanding what the problem is, you're really guessing. You call it gambling. You're gambling that you might know what the answer is. And so with AI, what we can do is we were able to, with our technology, understand and capture the problem, and then use AI to create that work order, because that's the other part people hate doing. Is that we don't have we've got really vague work orders that we just go. And so the ambitions to digitize maintenance in the absence of having quality data at the input level are really, misplaced. Like it's practically going to be impossible unless we have to create those work orders. And so what we do is say, let's get better order and categorize everything, so that when there's a system like Mac or something like that that's looking to understand what's going on, all the data is consistently repeatable, reproducible, and it's done without people getting in the way. Like the amount of work orders that are sitting on the passenger seat of an F-150 because they haven't gotten to the system yet, because it's a reality that is in the system. So let's just get rid of all that work that people don't like doing using AI, make it simple, make it reliable, make it predictable, so that we can start thinking about predictive maintenance and, being in front of all these catastrophes that we absorb.
Well, and I think that goes, what you were saying there, and the ancillary benefit of the primary benefit actually is that you're taking work off of your property staff, and property staff are traditionally overwhelmed, right? They got way too much on their plate. They don't have time in the day to do the kind of tenant care that leads to tenant retention. And so if you can, everybody's like, well, AI is not going to take your job. AI is going to make your job better, right? It's going to make it so the things that, are rote can be automated, and the things that need a human touch, you can then deal with. So I think that, everybody's throwing AI at everything, but it's just, and I do it myself. But I think when you start thinking beyond the, when you start looking at the bigger picture and how it actually changes property management at a very grassroots level, I think it becomes very powerful. As long as you're not making the property staff's life harder.
Yeah, for sure.
Jumping in here, I guess, and giving us some thought. And sorry to bust Guillermo. What a powerhouse that guy is. I'm always pleased to be on the screen with him. You know, is in a zillion different, it's thought of a zillion different ways or categorized in a lot of different ways. But in truth, it's either generally, right now today, it's either generally useful, I can look up something I don't understand, and as long as I'm not taking the answer for as truth that I need to investigate it, I can do a lot of research really quickly, and I can do some other things. But the real AI, in my view, is that's kind of happening today is around discrete workflow processes, right? And the discrete workflow processes that we're talking about here, or in portfolio and commercial, and stuff happening in commercial real estate portfolio spaces like MDU and retail and industrial, are around monetary obligations. Lease administration governs monetary obligations, and those monetary obligations include everything that Guillermo was just talking about. Facilities maintenance, who's responsible for what, work process and obligation process that the lease suggests. Is the landlord responsible for the HVAC, or is the tenant responsible for the HVAC? You know, that's what it boils down to. And that's all around proprietary data. It's not around all the data in the world that we hear about ChatGPT and Grok 4 and all of this stuff. It's around, you know, what is happening for the people operating this portfolio of property and what are their obligations. And what we're trying to answer for today in exponential AI is directly related to lease administration. All the documentation, hard documentation that comes in as a consequence of an existing on retail lease administration. Retail leases are the most difficult leases because they're negotiated. Different tenants in the same shopping center have different obligations with the landlord because they had more or less leverage with the landlord than they were than the other one. Like HEB is a stronger tenant and has much more favorable leases than Branson's Nail Salon does. So you know but the landlords still bill exactly. So everybody pays the wrong amount for common area maintenance and capital replacements and all that kind of stuff, because it's too hard for the landlords to keep track of it. Because most landlords are not institutional landlords; they're family offices or individuals that own strip centers or whatever. Holding one of the largest retail lease administration outfits in the country at a large commercial real estate services firm, something like 25, 30,000 leases, $3 billion in rents, half a billion to $1 billion in common area, in triple net charges, maintenance charges, and so forth, taxes, maintenance, and insurance. So big numbers. And what we found is that, which is counterintuitive to digital infrastructure and the evolution of technology, what we found is that hard document flow is actually rising. You know, so more tenants at property managers are receiving mail, are receiving PDFs, are receiving hard documents than in the past. And those hard documents have to be recognized. Someone has to open the envelope, look at the hard document, and then categorize it and put it into process, whatever that process is. It's a utility bill. Somebody has to get it and pay it, the right person. It's an estoppel, and somebody has to get it to the lawyer to make sure it's okay. And so creating that, and on a retail lease, you're talking about, you know, 3, 4, 5 documents a month. Each of those documents is 3 to 5 pages, and they're filled with data. So if you got 25,000 leases, you know, 75,000 docs a month times 5. I can't do that math. I was an English major, but it's lots and lots and lots of pages about what they say and who needs to act on what that information is, who needs to deal with it. So there's a huge opportunity there, but it's all proprietary and it all has to be designed within the workflow of the people of the property management work. It's really complex, and that's where that's the level of detail that people have to get to really take advantage of AI. It's what proprietary information is being created around my obligations, and how does the workflow process, and that also goes to maintenance, right? And these networks on this digital infrastructure and these complexes. Who's going to show
really
up
good at taking
and do the fix?
Yeah. Yeah.
Amy, so
I was just going to say,
Branson
yes.
No, go ahead. I'll go next. Oh, there's a delay. Branson said facilities maintenance, FM, right? And you are an FM guru. Ables is doing true FM in multifamily, which I don't think has been a thing, if I'm not wrong. And so like as we get as we get the prop tech out there, we've got all that data, we've got AI to translate that data, we've got I think that for multifamily, AI is like maintenance in multifamily. I mean, because multifamily has lagged. I mean, real estate in general has lagged behind in terms of technology, but multifamily is lagged behind commercial, right? And I think that there's this. I think that by AI.
No, for sure. Yeah. I think it's you got a couple of things, right? So we build digital twins. That's kind of what this. And digital twins have the ability to collect and aggregate tons of data. And that's at the end of the day, we're visualizing millions of data points wherever you get them from. So those data points, you end up bad data, you get good data, you got to verify your data, and then you got to display it that makes sense. So we're, poking holes at a lot of real estate organizations hard look at the data that they're getting and whether it's good or not. And if it's not good, or they just have an absolute lack of data, right? A whole absolute lack of it, right? Before you even do an AI application, you got to know where your data's come from. So.
Well, and I was actually at a really very well run, very interesting, small, kind of think tanky kind of event a couple of months ago. And what was most interesting that they said was that most data that's out there is already polluted by AI. So clean data that hasn't been polluted by AI is now
the
like
public
gold.
Sources, yes,
is now like gold, right? So these multifamily owner operators or commercial real estate or whatever have access directly to data coming from their devices are easily valuable if you can let a little AI on it, on that clean data, I think there's an opportunity to generate revenue. You've got to get creative about what outcomes you're trying to enable, but I think that, I'm actually working on something at SKBM right now. We're working on it and we're in stealth mode, so I won't go into the details, but it's a data play. It's a data play. It's a revenue driver. It's a revenue driver for us, and it's a revenue driver for our clients. And so it's all that clean data. We're like, how do we monetize it?
I think you've also got really
sure. And it's super valuable. Go ahead.
Yeah, we do have a delay. I think it's also interesting to note, and I haven't thought about this before until the last 18 months of doing some of these things, is you have a generational issue with regard to generational issue is those are assets, and the people that have assets are usually of an older generation than the technology people, and the technology people are all entrepreneurs coming in with these great ideas, but they have to convince the people that own the assets. So, if you look at some of the, press and sensationalism about the stock market, most of the stock market is owned by, aside from institutions, is owned by the baby boomers, right? So there's an age of asset ownership, and those asset owners aren't as familiar with the kinds of things that, this discussion, which is we're asking them to spend money against their assets, right, in order to adopt these technologies. And they've done very well, thank you, owning these assets for a long period of time, right? Most of these garden style complexes we're talking about were built 10, 25, or 30 years ago or more and have been managed well. Those that are still operating is really important. You ought to think about it. So it's an interesting conundrum. It kind of goes back to your opening metaphor of Frankenstein's monster. Frankenstein was actually the doctor and created the monster. And and the monster was called the monster in Shelley's original book, and the doctor was often called the doctor, but he was Dr. Frankenstein. Data aggregation of people that control it, of the cleanliness of the data. Resistance to adoption. I would put that you just added to your experience. So it's a fun dilemma.
But I think some of the resistance to adoption in real estate is, I wrote an article why does real estate hate buying tech? And actually, Todd Thorpe and I did Guillermo and I did, and part of the reason that real estate hates buying tech is that they bought all this tech in the past that has never delivered on the value, right? So they were made all of these like huge promises about how it was going to change your life, or it was going to improve tenant retention, it was going to increase staff retention, all of this kind of stuff that never came to fruition. And I always say this, that I've been saying this a lot lately on stage, and I'm going to get in trouble for it, but like most prop tech, I think, out there today is a solution looking for a problem. And so I think all these tech guys, they're real smart, tech guys and gals. These are smart people. They do have good ideas, but do they understand the industry they're trying to sell into? And that's a lot of what I see when I listen to my million pitches a day is, that's not even a problem. That's great that you're solving it, but like, what the heck problem are you solving for? I can't sell that to anyone. I mean, I probably could, but I'm not going to. And I've been saying this for 10 years, and I can't believe it's 10 years later and I'm still saying it, but like, there just needs to be so much education both directions, both from the tech side and from the real estate.
For sure.
And that's where SKBM comes in.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And that's hopefully where the U.S. PropTech Council comes in too, right?
Of course it does. Yeah, you got to bring.
No, for sure. But I would say for any software startup that doesn't do their market research, then shame on you. Like, this is a part of the process of creating a startup. Is you got to understand who your customers' pain points are, and if you don't understand it, or if you're building this shiny little thing, and you're trying to find a little thing and then just hope and pray that the customer will think it's awesome. I hear you, Chris. I had the same thing. People come to me all the time. Oh, I'm building this really cool thing. It's awesome. And it does this. And I'm like, yeah, but nobody wants that. Like, who cares? Like, tell you, not only did they tell you was it cool, but did they tell you how much they were going to pay for it, or they wanted to pay for it? And if they wanted to pay $5 for it, is it worth your time building the solution if they only want to pay you $5 a month for it?
Well, and there are two things there. One is like our CRO, Brian Doherty, total rock star. Like when I see a new piece of tech every day, has anybody ever brought up this problem? Or, you know, and so I'm like, I try to, like, as part of the vetting process, like, go to the guy who's actually talking to the clients, right? Who's actually hearing what the issues are. But the other thing is the pricing issue is so true. Like, I just saw, I called our COO afterwards because he had sent them over to me. And I'm like, this is like revolutionary. This is really cool. And he's like, Chris, did you ask him what the price was? And I'm like, you know what? We didn't get to the price. And he's like, yeah, ask him what the price is. And there's this, I've got them sitting right outside the door in the room I'm in. I've had them for months. There's a company that has this integrated, it's got a bunch of sensors integrated in one device. And there essentially is no install. You plug it in. The problem is the problem is the SaaS is too high. And that's every time they come back, I'm like, I can't get people to. It's so cool. It's so cool. But for that same SaaS, I can get them full smart home. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's. Yeah,
I think the fundamental problem there is that all of these Dr. Frankensteins, all of these scientists that are creating these little companies, are really focused on their P&L, and they need to understand their product in the context of their client's P&L. How does the multifamily owner's property work in each instance and generally? And we've got this value proposition, and we can create found revenue for the owner as a consequence of this, new network private network that we're going to put in for them. But what are the numbers? How does it work for them? And what are their pressures? And none of these guys know what that is.
Is the juice worth the squeeze? Okay, I can save you, 2 cents a month per unit. Like, nobody cares, right? Like,
yeah, for sure.
Point, Brandon, you've got to look at the P&L. Like, I didn't do this until fairly recently, like a deep dive into a property's P&L, a multifamily property. And it's amazing if you do that, then you're like, oh, I'm not going to chase this piece of technology because it's such a minor line on the P&L. It's really cool, but it's just not going to have enough impact. Whereas if I go after this piece of technology, that's a huge cost. And so if I can get that down by 10%, then I'm winning.
Every time I've ever, sorry, Amy, this is the last time I'll speak up, but every time I've ever sort of kind of felt like I made it was when I could actually start worrying about my own P&L, right? Oh my God, I have to do my taxes. My accountant's mad at me. I'm 3 months behind on this. Whenever I can pay attention to my own P&L is when I feel like I've actually got a business, so.
Yeah, no, for sure. So like when we would originally launch Facilimax, I was chasing the multifamily industry, right? And then, but it was 2023, early 24. They didn't have any money. They were like having a hard time paying their own damn mortgages, much less like invest in tech. And so I think the real estate recession that we kind of just went through, and hopefully we get out of it by 26. What was it? Survive till 25, and then like pick up the mix in 26 or whatever, like all these themes, whatever they are. Like, I don't think 25, we're going to have to get through 25 and make it to 26. But yeah, I mean, if you understand the real estate industry and the financial pressures that they're under, then you definitely do know what. So we had to pivot. I mean, you do know what they're under and understand their P&L, then it makes more sense, right? I mean, I remember I was operating multifamily way back in the day. And if my operating expenses were over 45%, I thought something was wrong with me. Like, I'm like, oh, you're being a bad operator if it's over 45%. The natural course of business right now is 65 to 70. They can barely make their mortgage payment, especially like in Class B, Class C kind of value add kind of deals. They're suffering, and it's tough. So yeah, they're not going to invest in tech. They got to pay their mortgages and try to not have to do capital calls to make the mortgage payments every month. Now I think it's getting better. It's not as bad as it was. So it's starting to get better, but no, for sure. So we pivoted into the data center industry after a long search of who's our best sector and all those great things. And that's a different whole other challenge in itself. But yeah, no, I got you. I mean, you got to know, if you're a tech company, you got to know who your customer is. You got to know what their day in, day out life is and what your tech is truly solving. Your tech is not a tech solution. Your tech is solving a problem that they have in a way using technology. So if you pivot it as like, oh, we don't have insight into where our leads are coming from. That's what you're solving, is like, okay, we don't know the source of our leads. We don't have a really good insight on our leads. So we don't know where to spend our marketing budget. That's what you're solving. You're not a SaaS lead generation tool. You're solving the problem that they don't know where their leads come from, right? Or whatever it might be.
Well, I think, but that's why, like, we as SKBM, the first thing we do is listen. And it's not about, oh, we need access controls. It's about what business case are you trying? What business case are you trying to enable here? Like, what are the goals for your business, as opposed to, let's do I need this thing now. But let's step back. Let's step back and think about what we're actually trying to solve for by deploying tech. And I think when you get people into really thinking about things at that level, then you create you potentiate the ability to be a strategic partner with these people, right? And to not be transactional. Like, there is value in being consultative and also really trying to understand the needs of your client, and beyond, I need a door lock, right? So call me.
Call me, baby. All right. Yeah. All right. Well, look at that. We made it to the end of the show. We're here.
The kids do this. The kids do this. They don't do this. They do this.
Oh, I'm sorry. They did that. This is so old. This is all so old.
This is so old.
It's this.
It's this. Yeah.
I can't
this because it's like,
this is too. Yeah. This is. All right. Well, we just had way too much fun on the show. All right. So this has been the show. This has been awesome. Branson, if somebody would like to get a hold of you, how could they do that, sir?
Easy. I'm one of the few people on LinkedIn where you click the contact info and actually get my phone number and everything else. So my email, my phone number is right there on LinkedIn, Branson Edwards. You can call me personally anytime you want. And I'd be happy to talk to anybody about what we're doing with exponential AI and document management and lease administration, and Lean Corporate Partners, what we're doing in commercial real estate outsourcing and the combination of tech provision. And I want to say thank you for
awesome sauce, and Chris.
Yeah, the easiest way to find me is LinkedIn. I don't do what Branson does, but I do reply to LinkedIn messages. I'm really good about it. So unless you're trying to sell me a franchise, but if it's a legitimate outreach, I'm very good about it. I will send you my email address in response, and we can get together on the phone or however you want to do it. But yeah, LinkedIn is easy. I'm easy to find because I spell my name weird. So hit me up.
All right, great. Well, thanks for coming to the show. We'll see all of y'all next week. And thanks to my lovely guests, Branson and Chris. And this has been the Real Estate Morning News Show. We'll see y'all. Thank you.
Thanks, Amy.
Bye.